Hi there, this is Dr. Marija Helt, microbiologist and herbalist with basmati.com. And of course, my chihuahua decides to start clicking around on the floor the minute I go to record. Hopefully, you're not hearing that. Anyway, this week I'm going to talk about button mushrooms. And I'd actually gone to the market to buy some button mushrooms to use as a visual prop, but I ate them. So you're going to get, oh no, can you even see that? Here we go. You're going to get this artist rendering. There it is, for button mushrooms. And so the one on this side here is our standard white button mushroom. Yes, I know it's green on this paper, but bear with me. That is the same mushroom as crimini mushroom. So the darker brown mushroom you see commonly in the grocery store, which is the same mushroom as portobello mushrooms. Portobello mushrooms are just grown-up versions of button mushrooms. And so I apologize for that poor visual aid. I don't have much self-control when it comes to letting mushrooms sit around without eating them. And so anyway, button mushrooms. For the longest time, were pretty much the only commercially available mushroom that we could grab at the grocery store. And now, of course, we have shiitake and lots of other great ones. And since all those other mushrooms have been showing up in the grocery store, button mushrooms have started maybe getting some short shrift. People are like, they're boring. Actually, if you cook them right, they're delicious. And they're very nutritious. So a lot of people mistakenly think that they don't have much nutritional value, but they are a good source of vitamin D. They're actually a pretty decent source of vitamin B12, which is great for vegetarians and vegans trying to keep up with the intake of B12. And aside from being tasty when you cook them right and nutritious, they have a lot of medicinal value. And so, for one thing, button mushrooms reduce blood sugar levels in the body, which can be really helpful for many people, especially in Western cultures where we're seeing more and more incidences of diabetes and other metabolic syndromes. Now, I'm not saying go out and eat, Twinkies galore and then just eating some button mushrooms to try to counter that damage, but they can be a great part of a good, complete whole foods-based diet to help people better regulate their blood sugar levels. Similarly, button mushrooms can help improve cholesterol metabolism in the liver. So the liver is actually where we make cholesterol. The liver is responsible for synthesizing it from precursors. And the liver also breaks down cholesterol. Now, cholesterol has an important role in the body, and it often gets demonized as the cause of a lot of problems, but it's more complicated than that, and that could be a whole 2-hour video to get into, so I'll save that maybe for the future. Suffice it to say, button mushrooms can help with healthy cholesterol regulation. Now, turning to cancer, which is an area where mushrooms have a lot of benefit. They could be good additions to the diet. To help do a little preventative work. So button mushrooms have actually been looked at a little bit with respect to cancer. So in Asia, there was an epidemiological study that looked at mushroom intake and breast cancer incidence in women. And not every woman was specifically eating button mushrooms, but about, I believe, 60 to 70% of the respondents ate primarily button mushrooms as their mushrooms. But either way, there was a significant decrease in the incidence of breast cancer among the mushroom eaters. And again, most of those people were eating button mushrooms. And not much is needed for that effect. The study found out that on average, the intake was just about 10 grams or more a day of button mushrooms. Now, 10 grams of button mushrooms is basically a fraction of one button mushroom. So it's not that these women were taking a little bite of a button mushroom every day. It's that their intake over time averages about 10 grams a day. So maybe they eat the mushrooms a handful or so a few times a week. But that's a great way to do a little preventative work while eating something that's really tasty. Another study was done on this side of the pond, and it was a phase 1 trial in men with recurrent prostate cancer. And so these were men kind of in later stages dealing with the disease. And they were using button mushroom as a powder, taking a certain number of grams per day. And what the results showed was that the expression of a marker associated with prostate swelling and prostate cancer growth called PSA actually decreased Now that's tricky, and this is maybe getting a little too technical. Sometimes PSA can decrease without the tumor size decreasing, and so perhaps a better way to do this study, not to get graphic, would also be to do a digital rectal exam along with PSA measurements to really get a sense of what's going on with the tumor. But regardless, seeing PSA go down can actually be potentially a good sign. The other benefit that was found in this study is that the men's immune system function improved with button mushrooms. So what happens with cancer, especially as it progresses, even irrespective of the treatments, immune system function can become suppressed. You become immunocompromised. And so that level of immunocompromisation was reversed to varying extents in these men. They had stronger immune systems, which meant fewer illnesses and such, better quality of life. And in a more of a tissue culture, cells in a dish kind of study, button mushrooms, an extract, I should say, of button mushrooms were found to inhibit an enzyme called aromatase. And so for cancers, breast cancers especially, that are dependent on estrogen for their growth, they are so-called estrogen receptor positive cancers. What happens is the tumor induces production of an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase is responsible for producing estrogen from its precursors. So the tumor essentially ensures its own supply of this growth factor that stimulates its own growth, aromatase. And so button mushrooms actually contain an inhibitor of that enzyme. So they theoretically, if this were to work in us as people, the mushroom might help shut down some of that estrogen production that the tumor is deliberately inducing to feed itself. So that's really exciting, and I hope that that is a line of research that gets further pursued. And I've mentioned cooking button mushrooms and the fact that they can actually taste good. I grew up often getting those ones in the can, but there's a better way to do it. And so what you can do is get a big pan, shallow pan, put it on your stove, get it going at medium heat. This, of course, works best with a gas stove, but you can do this with electric too. And then slice the mushrooms really thinly, and then make a single layer of your mushrooms on the pan, sprinkle them with some salt, and let the salt and the heat pull the water out of the mushrooms. The reason they're in a single layer is that they don't steam each other, because when you're evaporating that water out and the mushrooms are on a big pile, they kind of turn rubbery, and that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't like mushrooms. And so by cooking them initially in that thin layer, you wind up getting a nice nutty flavor, a little bit of crisper texture, some nice browning on the mushroom. And as they start to dry out a little bit, push the mushrooms to the side, stick the next layer on, and just keep doing that until you've cooked all the mushrooms you've got. And then you can add whatever else you normally cook them in. Butter, ghee, coconut, vermouth, whatever you like. And I know I've gone a little bit over in this video than I normally do, so hopefully you've made it until the end. And until next time, good health to you.